it's fascinating. If you ask the AI to create different people to look at the problem,
Yeah.
solve this problem as a consumer psychologist, as a direct response copywriter, and have a robust discussion among yourselves before giving me the answer, you'll actually see that it gives you that one expert said this and the
Yes.
other expert said that, and they're actually having a discussion.
Welcome. Today we are talking about AI and its impact on business. I'm joined by a good friend and mentor of mine, Nik Thakorlal. Nick's a little bit of a legend in my world. He's the guy behind a product called LeadsHook, which is a personalized quiz lead generation tool. We use it here at Systemology. I actually met him at a conference, probably must be more than 15 years ago now. And he's always been my go-to guy when it comes to tough business questions. He's super smart, always on the cutting edge. And the other day we were chatting about AI, and I said, we should record this. There's so much good stuff here. So maybe first things first, just like to welcome you to the call, Nick.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you for the warm intro. Hope I live up to the introduction and the hype.
I'm sure you will. If we dive straight in then,
Yeah.
when you think about AI, I'd love to maybe even just start with what is it and why is it so disruptive in your eyes for business?
All right. Okay. So, I guess what is AI? I'll leave it to the research papers to answer that. We look at the outcomes of what AI allows you to do, because obviously there's different types out there. You can build your own models and all sorts of stuff. Maybe we will limit our chat to what most people use, which is kind of like your Chat GPT variant, which is a large language model, the LLM version. Then it may that's the one that obviously is most applicable for most people anyway. Plus, the LLMs are becoming so smart and the context window is increasing quite rapidly that the other stuff has become largely academic, or unless you've got a very industry or domain specific application. So what I mean by that is when ChatGPT first came out, you could only do 4,000 tokens, which is kind of like a half a page or page of whatever it is. And so you really had to be a miser in what you asked, because if your prompt became too big, if your lines that you requested became too big, then you wouldn't give it much space to send some info back to you. But
Mm,
with things like Claude, which have got context of about 200,000 tokens, or if one of the older models has got about almost a limit of 1 million tokens, and if you self-host with things like Llama or whatever, then it's almost limitless in terms of what you can do. So when those limitations get removed, it really opens up what you can do with it. So I'll share an example, and then we can go down the
mm,
different direction. So if I can upload, say, a competitor ad, and I can ask the AI to give me the emotional impact of the ad, or to give me what type of framework is the ad using, and I can give an example saying, hey, for example, problem agitation solution is one of the frameworks. There are many others. Please look in your repertoire of billions of reserves sitting behind you, and work out for me what the hell am I looking at here. And it can actually kind of come back saying, oh, this is what I think it would be, or it'll give you options. And so
yeah.
you can do that sort of stuff. And so I guess that's the real use of it, is that you only need to bring a question to the LLM, and it can give you an outcome in a way that you probably have not even thought of. So,
Mm,
so I guess another example would be, I can say that I want you to evaluate this as a consumer psychologist, and I want you to evaluate this as a direct response marketer. That will give
yeah.
you two different responses. Right now, you can do that across 10 ads that you see of your competitors, and you can ask it to compare and contrast between the different competitors. And really, within a couple of minutes, you get this nice little breakdown of what's actually going on in a market, whether you're already in it or you're thinking of going in it. How's that for an kind of intro into the topic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's one thing I've started thinking about it. I think you might have mentioned something a long time ago. You've always been obsessed with this idea of data and how valuable it is, and big data. And it's almost like I find the AI is a great way to refine that data and turn it from this big blob of maybe what seemingly might not appear very connected, but it can
But
draw out the
correct,
patterns and process it and
correct.
almost like refine that data and then turn it into gold. I think that's one sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
real.
No, well, actually, what amazing is that you can actually give it input A and input B, and in your mind they're not related, or you can't find connections, and you ask it to give me connections, and it'll actually merge it together for you
Yeah,
in ways that you have not thought of or you can't think of. So for example, okay, so I've got this book on my desk here saying "Slide of Mouth." It's for NLP, right? And I've got Gary Bensavenga 100, right? I can tell the AI to maybe I can scan a couple of pages out of this, and I can scan the pages out of this, the different patterns of sleight of mouth, and I can say, can I apply Gary's stuff? How do I apply Gary's stuff in this framework? Now, if I were to do that manually, I'd probably need a month or two because the amount of data I'd have to absorb and really know intimately to draw those conclusions would take some serious study. It'll give that to me in about 5 seconds,
yeah,
right? And then obviously that doesn't mean that actually is true. Okay, so we want to. So this is where your judgment comes in as a marketer or a business person or whatever the topic area you're working with, and then now you need to see if this passes the smell test. And or if you're in the online world, because the cost of ads are reasonably cheap in terms of you can set an ad up and just spend only few dollars on it, you can send it into the marketplace and test it out.
mm-mm.
And that's the so what it does, it takes perhaps something you may have thought like, oh, one day I'll get to it. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You can get to it tomorrow or right now, and put it into the market and see what happens. So,
Yeah,
so it opens up the universe of possibilities of combining stuff, or any wild idea that you have. You don't necessarily have to go into the study about it. You can just ask it to use that particular framework because it's already got all that inside its massive knowledge base, and all you and our job becomes to bring it into its focus, and that's what the context is. So that's why a lot of the prompts would say act as a
yeah,
psychologist, or you are the world's best. You have a PhD in whatever, in persuasion or data analysis or whatever. And so now it's got like, okay, cool. So now I have a reference point from which to act, and
yeah,
that's usually the way that prompting happens. But at its core, all you want to do is you want to say, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I'm not looking for, here's what a good output looks like, here's what a bad output looks like, here's an example, and go knock
yeah,
yourself out. As long as you have those 5 things, generally speaking, it spits out pretty decent stuff, and then you can start working with it. The problem that I see is most people they'll say things like this one line, say, "Can you write me an article that's going to rank on Google for, I don't know, SEO something, or whatever the keyword is," and
yeah,
that's usually going to produce stuff that reads like a machine. But if
yeah,
you give it a large amount of context, if you upload your own writing, how you write, and you can say, I want you to absorb this and understand my writing style, and then use that to write article about this topic, all of a sudden it actually writes like you.
yes, yeah. I think it's amazing when you think in terms of what search engines did. And when Google came out, everybody was like, oh, wow, this is the game changer. It was just a small box, nothing else on the screen. And it didn't serve up any result until you told it what it was that you're looking for. Like you would type it in and then it would go off and basically bring back all of these sources. And it just goes, well, based on what you searched, I found this, and this. Whereas with AI, now it's basically still has a pool of a huge amount of data, and then it's able to tailor a result very specifically to what it is that you've asked, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
serve
So
up
the
that
so the main
result.
the main difference is that Google gives you links and then leaves the responsibility or the problem of understanding what those what those links are giving you, to collect the data, synthesize it, or however you want to use it, and then so it leaves bulk of the work to you.
Yeah.
While AI can take care of that part as well and only give you the outcome you're looking for. So let's say if you're looking to research on what mountain bike to buy, right? At the moment, you'll if you go to Google, then you get a whole bunch of links, and you run into promos and all kinds of fake review sites and all kinds of, and so so you do have to go through a lot of filtering and sorting out to really find out what is going to be useful for you. While I can go to the AI saying, listen, I'm looking to mountain bike. I don't mountain bike very often. I'm unfit as hell, but I am a recreation guy. But I want to look cool when I am going down the mountain. Um, you know, what do you recommend I look at, or what are the things I should be thinking about that I don't even know what to look at? And it'll give you like a criteria that you can use. Now, using AI models like Perplexity, which actually has an internet connection, it'll actually do searches. It'll search Reddit for you. It'll search, I mean, it's doing it on your behalf. You're not asking you to search Reddit, but it'll actually look at a wide variety of resources, compile it, compress it, and then give you the breakdown. So it's
Yeah.
actually giving you almost, it's doing a Google search plus that filtering, sorting, organizing, and then giving you the output, which you can ask for in a table or in a graph or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
It is able to make decisions and uh, apply, based on what you've asked and what I understand you're looking for, here is the best result that I can come up with, while tailoring that to you making the decisions. It's almost like that decision-making process,
It's
that really is the
well, it
leap
can make
forward.
decisions for you. So that's the big leap here.
Yeah,
So I think every tool we've ever had in the past has only largely worked in giving you more output.
yeah,
So we went from digging with our hands to a spade to a tractor to or whatever, right? It allowed you to work faster. This one here allows you to make a decision,
yeah,
and that's the difference between what we've been able to achieve so far with the tools and what this particular tool does. So, which obviously opens up a can of
yeah.
worms to a lot of other social type issues, which I don't know if you want to touch or not, but I'll leave that to you.
I think that the challenge here is the possibilities, because it can do so many things. I mean, business owners, that's where you get stuck, which is, okay, well, now where am I going to apply this? How am I going to apply this? A couple of questions. I'm curious to know your thought between sort of learning about AI and when you discovered it to implementation. Like, because this also takes time. Like, business owners, a lot of them, they saw ChatGPT when it came out, and that was the big aha moment for a lot of business owners. They're kind of like, oh wow, now I can see where AI is up to and what it can do. Like, there were previous versions of OpenAI and other models that were floating around, but it was kind of like the ChatGPT moment that had everybody go, ah, okay. And then there's still a lag time between seeing it and then going, this is useful, and then I'm going to implement this into my business. I'm curious to know, for you, like, was this something immediately obvious to you where you're just like, wow, it's like we're going from the dark ages, and there's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
opportunity?
So I had a look at GPT-2 whenever it came out 3-4 years ago, and you could see where it's going, but the output was pretty crap, as in you couldn't just use it. So the point was, why would I get an article that was only 40% done and then spend another 60% correcting the 40%, and you might as well just write the damn thing yourself. So the utility quite wasn't there. It was more of a tool for, I guess, academics, maybe, would probably how I would put it. And then when GPT came out, OpenAI came out with its with the chat type interface. The product also was actually quite good. My first use was in coding side of things, so getting it to
Mm,
spit out JavaScript, scripts and things of that sort. So I started using that side of it first, much less the marketing side, because I think it wasn't until version 4 came out, at least on the GPT world, that it was good enough to be used in that sense. So I
Yeah.
still didn't find the quality to be good enough. But code is code, right? It's and so that for that, so my that's where my use started. So I had less reliant on my development team anymore. I could just go and hack out a script and quickly go and test it out. Or if I saw a script that I didn't quite understand what this was doing, I could copy and paste it and saying, "Hey, can you break it down like as if I'm a 3-year-old?" And it would kind of describe what's actually happening. And then you say, so you could chat with things that you did not understand, and that's
Yeah.
what its use was. And the other way I started using it was you'd read a journal article of some sort, or you're looking at some very densely written research paper, and you because sometimes it'll take hours to consume that. You can just copy and paste in the whole thing, or you can well, now you upload it, but back then you just copied and pasted it into a text file, and then you just would tell it, hey, listen, can you explain to me what the hell's going on here, and what is it trying to say? What are the conclusions? And it would go and work its magic. So that's where my use of the whole thing started. My use in marketing has been more recent, actually. After version 4 came out is when I felt that it was good enough now to be used, and it was more a function of not so much the version, but more its context window, the how much you could put in, because the kind of prompts that I use now, at least on the marketing side, they usually go for 7 to 10 pages. That's how long the prompt is. And
Yeah.
so in order for that size prompt to be used, you'd need a reasonably large context window. Otherwise, you would run out of tokens. And
Yeah.
so yeah, but that tech is improving a lot. We're already at 200,000 to about 1 million. I'm guessing by the end of the year, or if not early next year, we'd probably be 1 million across everybody. And 1 million ends up tokens is, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, a book, maybe the size of a
Yeah.
book. So you could really feed a whole book in, and chat to it, which is a significant amount of capacity. And so therefore your ability to dump like I don't know, like 30 documents in there, and
Yeah.
then say, hey, can you make sense of everything I've just given you? For a human to do that, firstly, you would need a very high amount of expertise in all of the subject matter that's there. That's
Mm.
the first thing. And secondly, weeks and months to consume and digest and all that sort of stuff. And then finally be able to use it, which you don't even have to do that anymore. You can just say, hey, listen, can you build me a framework for an application for X?
Yeah.
And it'll give you a framework. Obviously, that does not necessarily mean that it's going to work. It just means that at least uh, the the idea to test something has become literally with seconds, from months to seconds. And that's the
Yeah.
scary part about this whole thing for society and for marketers. So for business owners, obviously everything's going to move faster. You can
Yep.
you can do days, weeks, months worth of work in an hour or two. And obviously along the way it eliminates a whole lot of manual labor type stuff. And yeah, it's so my curiosity about it also has been, what does it mean for all of us, as in the
Yeah.
world? And yeah, there are some.
It's one thing I noticed when you start using it, like you come to it asking the questions that you have some knowledge about, and oftentimes you don't, because it is so limitless. You need to get quite good at the questions that you're
Correct.
asking, and then generally the first things that you start using it to solve problems for you are the things that you know about or the things that you're working on. So for business owners, sometimes you you don't, like you mentioned, you're using it for coding and you're using it for marketing, and there are all of the other parts. Like every team member should be really thinking about, how can I use AI to help me do what I'm doing faster? How can I ask better questions to get better
Yeah.
output and build up that muscle? Just like we have a muscle for using Google. Hey, I don't know how to do something. We just Google it. You kind of really want to replace that with hey, I don't know how to do this thing. I should just go chat with an AI.
Correct. It's become to me more like a colleague that sits next to you.
Yeah.
You can bounce ideas off it, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And so you no longer have to do a whole lot of Googling and then get to a place where, oh, now I kind of understand what my problem is. You can just say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about A, B, C, D, E, X, G. What what's your take on this?
Yeah.
It'll actually tell you. And that's the powerful thing about it, is that it speeds up even your own question. So I also use it a lot to define what I'm trying to do. Because I'm like, you know what? I've got this idea and I've got this idea and I've got this idea. I don't quite know how they connect. Can you build me a bridge that
Yeah.
puts everything into the one place, or in some sort of a cohesive, can I make sense of this? And so traditionally you'd spend weeks, days, hours, or if not never, to get that understanding. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, how a business owner would approach this. Obviously, using it for themselves personally, like in that research mode and using it for yourself. There's a little bit of talk about this idea of becoming an AI first company, and what does that actually mean to have problems in your organization and then to first look with AI as a solution? How can an AI
Yeah. Okay.
tool?
So I suppose if that's the concept or that's the idea, then then uh, every function in the business will be automated and palmed off to some sort of an AI. And that's the whole agent thing that's popped up in the last year or so. And things like Crew AI and whatever, they different frameworks for building agents that do one thing. And so my vision for that is, and obviously this is very new, so could be obsolete by the time someone listens to this even, is the idea of create a tightly defined group of uh, almost like players on your team.
Yep.
I think the fancy word is called agent, but they're all tightly defined. So one person just edits your. So let's say, for example, if you were going to do ads, if you're writing ads for Facebook, so you would have a research agent, then you would have a copywriting agent, and then you would have a proof checking agent, you would have a Facebook compliance agent, and you would have a, I don't know, agent who uploads the stuff onto Facebook using the API. So you've broken the task down into small finite
Yep.
agents, and they all work together to get the outcome, almost like a human does. The difference is that a human would do many more bits, at least in its current form. Would be like a human is many agents in one, while at least as far as AI is concerned at the moment, the way to make it all sort of work is to really break it down into more finite pieces. And the
Yep.
reason why you want to do that is because the finite agent needs to be testable. It needs to do
Yep.
only one thing, and if it does five things, then it gets much harder to test. So that's why you wanna basically have an AI that just writes, for example, your Facebook ads. So you'll input a bunch of stuff on one side, and out comes the ad, right? And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
so, so, so that way, if it's not doing a good job, you can then work on it by either giving it more context, or however you wanna improve it. But if you say that my agent's going to take the copy, it's going to do the research, and it's going to write the proof, and blah 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 blah, it does 50 things, and if the output is crap, then you're like, well, I don't know which part of the whole thing didn't quite work.
Yeah.
And so it's not it becomes harder to test. So the smaller you break it up, the task, the easier it's going to get. So from an AI first sort of a company, that's I picture at this point in time anyway, that's how it's probably going to pan out. That you're going to have, one human who has been able to somehow create, or a human who's been able to use an AI who's been able to create a whole bunch of agents,
Yeah.
and they're all working together to do social media posting, social media commenting, doing a cold outreach message based on some new news article. I mean, there's like, if you think about it, if you were to map out what your organization does from In fact, a good framework to follow would be your client, your
Critical
critical
client
client
flow.
flow. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good place to start because it identifies the main steps, and then
Yeah.
you would. So at a practical level, you wanna where is most of your cost being consumed? By cost, I don't necessarily mean the invoice you get every month cost, but where is your productivity really low? So, for example, if you are only able to launch one marketing campaign a month, then can you make it to one marketing campaign a day?
Yeah.
And because that's the true cost. It's not the fact that your marketing manager is charging you 100 grand a year. It's the fact that you can only produce one campaign a month. But if you had one campaign a day, then you've just it's not even it exponentially grows if you can do that kind of capacity. So
Yeah.
that's what we've been looking at here. Um, I hope that sort of answered the question in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But where what kind of like an AI first type of a business means. But in order to get to that stage, you obviously need to just get good at just getting it to give you a good ad article, financial analysis, or whatever the use case you want to use it for. You need to just get almost as good an output as what you can do on yourself manually. And the
Yeah.
minute you do that, you would have worked out how to talk to it properly in the way that it wants to be spoken with, and that's when the magic happens. That's when you
Yeah.
cross. Just when you cross the chasm in I can use that analogy where like holy crap, I didn't realize this is how you work with it.
Yes.
And that's why they're like most of the prompts that I create, they're actually quite long. um
Yeah.
and and I know that most people don't have the patience for that stuff, but the minute you do that and you put it in, and out comes an article that looks exactly like how you wrote it, and you can't distinguish it between how you wrote it versus a machine writes it. All of a sudden, the your the question is, how many more can you produce? And the answer
Yes.
is for $20 a month. I mean, it's how many times you want to prompt the damn machine, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the manual part. I guess the agent part is the agent is going to prompt it over and over and over and over again, which means that your ability to produce something has become unlimited. That's from an efficiency standpoint,
Yeah.
right? Now that doesn't mean that it's effective, and so obviously you still need to step back and say, well, what drives value in my business? And beyond a certain stage, just because you can produce 5,000 articles a month does not mean you're going to generate a lot of value out of it. So that's where I think the human part is still required, or at least at this stage is required. Whether that's replaced by AI at some point in the future, who knows? But this way, you would want to look back at your business and say, well, where um, where am I spending a lot of my time, but I'm not getting the output out of it? Or if we do get output, it does not have the success rate that I would need to
Mhm.
move the needle. So your critical client flow is a great framework to use, and that is also a almost a metaphor for mapping out the entire business. So you have a very good understanding of what's actually happening.
Oh, hey, I know you're tuned in right now, so I'll keep this super quick, but you like awesome YouTube videos, don't you? Well, there's not really that many YouTube channels that create great content about how to systemize your small business. So I want to make sure that you catch every video that I publish. So if you haven't already, firstly, give this video the thumbs up and then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You can even hit the bell notification to make sure that you're the first to know when I publish anything. So go ahead, do it right now. I'll wait a sec and then I'll transfer you back to the video. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people get lost with AI because they see, yes, I can create 300 cat videos and put them on
Correct.
YouTube and
Correct.
social media,
Correct.
and you
Correct.
weren't
Yeah,
doing it
that's
before and it wasn't adding any value to your business. So why are
yeah.
you now trying
Correct.
to add that in? I
Correct.
think
Correct. Yeah.
looking at what you're currently doing that is critical to the delivery of your product or service or solving your
Yeah,
client's problem.
or just the kind of lifestyle you're looking for. Maybe it's
Yep.
not about doing more work. Maybe it's doing, less work to spend more time at home or with your kids or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that could be also part of the, because I don't think the point of life is to just work yourself to death. It's a it's you do you, right? And yeah, some
Mm.
people enjoy working, great, knock yourself out. But if you're one of those people who'd rather not do anything, then you know what? Maybe getting a whole bunch of agents that are doing for you, working for you, is the great outcome. But the path to get there means you do have to you're gonna have to put quite a few hours in
Yeah.
to make sense of all of this new stuff, and a lot of it breaks and it's inconsistent and it's volatile. Uh,
Yep.
like the same prompt, each time you run the same prompt, it gives you a totally different article.
Yeah.
That's Yeah, that's just the nature of the game. So, but obviously, when you are an early adopter, you will have those problems. But then you also get the benefit because you're the first one who's worked out some way to uh, to break into the market that others haven't worked out yet. So that's the arbitrage, right? Risk
Yeah.
reward. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely at the moment, um, there is that first mover advantage of, well, we know this is a big thing. We know this is not going away. We don't know exactly where it's going to go. Like, I mean, the idea of uh, AI agents and how that'll evolve and how businesses will create those and how
Well,
people can get.
let's put it this way: there's already working templates of a lot of this sort of stuff. It is very deflationary. There's no doubt about that. It just yeah, it just takes the cost out of knowledge work really, really quickly.
Yeah,
They've even got robots now that do bricklaying or whatever. So it's not like if I'm a tradie
yeah,
or a bricklayer, somehow it's my job is safe. So it's coming everywhere.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm yeah, I've had some people who get quite angry when they talk about AI because they think it's going to take their job or whatever. But I'm like, that's just the way these things roll, at every yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the answer to the societal type questions are, but I'll leave that for the government.
yeah. It's going to be like if we accelerate, like the amount of change and the speed at which it's changing, like over the last year or two, and how quickly these models are rolling out updates. It's hard to know exactly where it lands. One thing that I do know is it's happening, so you might as well start using it, thinking about the applications in your business, because just doing that will then open up the opportunity for you, and then you'll see the opportunity. Until you start using the tool, you don't really know how and where it's going to fit, but you've got to start talking to people who are applying it. How are they using it? Where are they getting the wins? And how can you then start to employ that in your own business?
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not here to this is not about judging anybody for wanting to use it or not using it. This is the another new tech that's come out. Use it if you think it works for you, and don't use it if you don't.
Yeah.
Uh, Unfortunately, it's so deflationary. Anyone who doesn't use it is probably going to get priced out. So
Yeah.
that's the other side of it. That's the more pragmatic side of it. That's the way kind of I'm looking at it. Um, yeah.
How are you using it in LeadsHook? Like what,
In the
obviously you're
the
using it personally.
Yes.
What's the way that you're approaching it in your
Yeah.
business?
Okay. Yeah. So, for example, so Litu, we make quiz funnels, decision trees as we call them. We have an update coming out where all you got to do is answer 3 questions, like your market, your product, and it actually builds the whole thing out automatically.
Yeah.
We've got another update coming out very soon where, based on that, it's also going to build out your landing page automatically, including the design.
So
So,
there's
because the feedback we have gotten over and over and over again, and I'm assuming that's with every SaaS company, is it's like it's a great tool. Uh, this is of the people who leave us, and a very small number do, but we do get feedback when they do leave, and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't work out how to use it, or I couldn't get started." And we've got templates and we've got all kinds of stuff, but there's still a cognitive cost. right? For example, I just signed up to Zero for I'm helping someone do the accounting, and so I've never used Zero. And while I understand the nuances of an accounting platform, I've had to spend a little bit of time clicking around, and right, that's the cognitive cost I'm talking about here. It's not
Yeah.
like making rocket science, and and so the customers aren't even willing to do that. All right.
Yeah.
And that's me too. I didn't want to do that either. Like when I logged in, I'm like, oh, come on, are you kidding me? Like, do I have to click around trying to work stuff out? And so when when I had that experience, I went back to I pulled out all of the customer research that we have of people who, and I said, what's the most common thing? And I used AI for that. I say,
Yeah.
you know, give me a breakdown of what are the major issues that people are telling us. And pretty much no one has ever left us saying you don't have a feature.
Yeah.
No one has ever left us because we are too expensive. And almost 90% of people have left us because they couldn't find the time or the ability to work out what to do with it.
Yes.
All right. And so I said, okay, well, how do you address that? Well, you address that by just asking someone, what the hell do you want? And he
Yep.
said, well, I want a decision tree. I want a marketing funnel about X. And you wait 5 seconds, and it gives you all of the details about it, and you either can change it, or you can say, yep, build. And you press the button, you wait another 5 seconds, and the entire
Yep.
decision tree is done. Right? That's what we got working in prototype right now. Right. So
Yep.
what it's done, it's removed the cognitive cost of learning the software. It's removed the cognitive cost of what the hell do I do in my marketing? What do I say about my marketing? I know those are the big questions that people always struggle with.
Yep.
So for example, I've got people with years of experience in their business, and I say, okay, cool. What do you want to do your marketing about? And they actually have a bit of a blank. I
Yes.
yeah. And so that's the bit that we wanted to solve, because that's the bit that stops everybody. And in order to resolve that, at the moment you would have to um, have a pretty deep understanding of your own business, have a very
Yep.
deep understanding of the customer, and you'd need to have a very deep understanding of how to bridge, and be technical enough to be able to apply that in a strategy in a software, for example. Right. So
Yes.
as you can see here, there's a lot of steps, and that's just not my product.
Yep.
It's your product too. It's every bloody software product on the planet faces that problem. And so the approach we took, we said, well, I don't know. Well, what do people know? Well, people know what product they're selling, and
Yep.
people have some idea of who they want to sell to. Right? Can we build something from just those two data points?
Yep.
And the answer is yes. In fact, yesterday I was testing. I said, why don't we just say, put your URL in. We'll read the URL and we'll work out who the customer is and what the
Yep.
product is. And so you don't have to. So as long as you can copy and paste the URL, we can build your marketing funnel. Right? That essentially is where we're heading for.
It's almost like there is in the background. I mean, this all centers around process. You have a process for the way that
That
funnels are
correct.
built out, and it's trapped
Correct.
inside your head, and it's also
Correct.
what you teach. Now we're talking about, well, can we create the workflow that the machine, the AI, can follow to go through it, where we just give it its inputs, but then it's just following what you would do and how you would
Correct.
prompt
Correct.
it and
Yeah. So
refine
so all
it.
we've done is we've taken all the manual processes,
Yep.
and we just put it under the hood.
Yep.
And similarly, like I don't quite understand how a car works,
Yep.
and that's exactly what the market is telling us is I don't want to understand how your software works. I couldn't give a crap about the software. All I want is, if I'm going to spend $1, I need to bring two back.
Yep.
That's it. And as long as, and if you can hide everything else between those 2 points,
Yep.
that's the win. So we said, okay. Until now, none of that was possible.
Yes.
Because it required some human input, which is either I did it, you did it, or somebody else did it. But there was some human involved at some point in the
Yeah.
loop. And so we've just removed uh, all the human interaction, where we can go from a URL of
Yep.
your business to a completed marketing funnel that you can take to market. I guess the next step would be to write the ads and press
Yep.
a button, and we'll upload that into Facebook or Google or wherever.
Yep.
I guess the next step after that would be just press a button, and we'll even manage your money for you,
Yes. Yes. I,
right? It's almost getting to that now.
and I feel like that same level of thinking could be applied in any business. We're talking
Anyway,
about software businesses here, but even like service-based businesses.
absolutely.
If step number one is like if there's a human in the loop component, if you're a service-based business, you're an accountant or I'll run with the accountant. There's certain things that you do in the background that happen under the hood that effectively your clients don't know because you as the human are executing them. But if we can take
Okay, so
elements of that,
a very good example for an accountant would be a service-based business.
yeah,
Is what drives a lot of value to a client in an accounting business is the client getting notified that there's movement on his file, like that
yeah,
you've done the tax returns, or you're making progress with tax returns, or the bank recs are getting done, all that kind of stuff. At the moment, what happens is the accountant will do that all that work, and then somehow send you an email, and you might get notified. Can you imagine if there's an agent that's just watching you every time you log in and you do something, right?
yes,
And at the end of the day, it summarizes what you did and just sends literally like a 5 bullet point email or SMS or whatever the heck it is, just
yep,
saying, hey, today we worked on your file, we did the bank rec, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did the BAS, we did the whatever, done. And you
yep,
don't have to do anything, right? And so that would be a very easy and simple win, because it means that the client doesn't think, because by the time they contact you, they're a little bit pissed off, right? It's like,
yes,
what's
yeah,
going on, man? Like, why isn't my best done, or why isn't my bank rec done, or whatever? It's never going to be like, it's only because they've reached a certain threshold where, like, okay, now I have no choice but to contact you, right?
yes,
And maybe they're pleasant about it, or hi, how are you doing, or whatever, but literally you've gone past the threshold, otherwise they wouldn't be contacting you. So why don't you just be more proactive and have an AI agent that's just watching, QuickBooks or Zero or whatever the
yep,
platform is, and end of the day, it summarizes what the actions of the day were, and just sends a message. So they're like, oh, cool, okay, well, I'm glad that's done. Thank you very
yes,
much. And so that way they don't have the need to contact you. They feel like they've been looked after, because they've been kept up to date. A lot of things that people say it was an amazing experience is just communication of what's actually happened. And
yeah,
oftentimes I find that just communication is most of custom experience. So,
yes,
and that's the one part that's probably the easiest to automate.
yeah. So I feel like like anybody who's listening to this will be thinking in terms of through their lens, thinking about their business, and then going, you need to start to obviously use the tool to know what's capable. Then you want to start to think about your business in terms of, well, what are those essential processes, and where can we add some value and make it more efficient by leveraging the AI, and then go to work on some of those chunks. Firstly, it might be the human that's just using ChatGPT to accelerate what it is that they're doing. But then over time, you kind of evolve, and that might be a workflow process that then strings a whole of those together. And then, I mean, if you even want to go a step beyond that, which is kind of what we were talking about when it comes to SaaS, is then you might just have this whole thing that happens completely under the hood, this workflow. You ask for one or two inputs, and then it just gives you the output. And that's kind of at the other end of the extreme. But I was chatting with a lady who is going with an AI first approach in her accounting business, and she's effectively built a lot of those tools internally for her accountant. So it's not something that's necessarily publicly available for through a SaaS, but she builds those tools out for her accountants to get so much more output and deliver better outcomes for the clients at a lower cost. Or she's able to get,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
and yeah, because you're never going to find a client who says, please raise the price.
yes,
I mean, that's,
yes,
if there's one truth in business, is everyone wants something for cheap or
they
cheaper.
want it cheap. And then the challenge is always at the moment, the staff want more. So they want to be paid more the client wants to be paid less. So really the only way to solve that is with AI, because now we can pay you more because we can get more output from those team members if they're using their uh, intelligence and working on the highest value tasks and letting the AI work on um, those lower value tasks.
Unfortunately, we get to the stage where even the high value stuff is being done by the AI. So, for example, if you ever ask an AI, what marketing strategies would you like to use for this problem, it'll actually give you a pretty decent answer, actually, depending on how good the input is. So it's actually, uh, I think, is already working, or in aspects of the industry, I guess you could say, already at a level of a decent human being in terms of, here's my problem, how do I solve this? It actually does a pretty damn good job. In some
Yeah,
cases, you can't even compete with it anymore, actually. Yeah, so I teaching a course right now, and early this morning I showed people how to do market segmentation using AI, and people are just like blown away. They're like, not even a million years have I seen anything like this,
yeah,
nor would I even know how to do this. And we did it in like two prompts,
yeah,
right? And so that's the true power of that. In fact, there's one of the guys on the course. He actually is ex large ad agency, and
yep,
I asked him, so what do you think of this? He goes, I don't know how the agencies are going to survive.
yeah,
Yeah, so literally, because this was weeks of work that has been that is it was done in literally, I don't know, 10 seconds.
yeah,
Now, having said that, I have spent well over 10 hours to build the damn prompt.
yep,
So, and testing it and all the other stuff. It's not like the use is almost costless or free,
yes,
but the building is not.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have
So
to,
I don't want to over sell this AI thing. I don't want to trivialize it. Like, you just, just kind of wake up one morning and just type in two things and it just produces this stuff. We're not quite there yet. Maybe we'll get there soon enough. But as of now, there is still quite a bit of work in the building, testing, and a little bit of the tinkering stuff that you still have to mess around with. Um,
yes. I think that comes back to why an understanding of process is key
yeah,
here, because effectively, prompt engineering, you're uh, engineering a process for the AI to follow. So you
correct,
have to
correct.
know what outcome you're looking to get. You need to
Yeah,
think
and
about what are
and
the
and
steps.
and the language that it needs to see things in.
Yeah,
And there is something to that.
yeah,
There is a particular style that it likes to be. There's a language of AI. I don't know, probably not the best way to
mm,
put it, but there's a specific way, at least for now, of how it wants to be communicated. And so, by if you communicate in that way, and the amazing thing is that a lot of these things are, what they, the I don't know, the PhD word, or whatever the master's level word would be, these are emergent properties. These are things that they're discovering after the AI was built. They're like, oh, the AI actually does that, and we didn't know it did that. And
yeah,
so there's that area, uh, is the unknown unknown at this point in time, and there's some very interesting and amazing things coming out of that part. They're like, I didn't realize that this is an emergent property of what we've built.
yeah,
But the person who's building it didn't quite appreciate what could happen as a result of that. And yeah, so that's why I'm actually follow quite a few of the geeks in the space who share all kinds of fancy new ways in which they're prompting, or some new innovations that are coming out. And it's kind of like, I guess that's part of the job. Um, and I'm really, it's really fascinating to understand and learn that even the person who was building the AI didn't fully appreciate or understand this, what could come out of it. And
yes, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So for example, if you say to the AI, explain your reasoning, it gives you a better output than if you don't say that. That was came out of a paper that came out saying, just ask it for a reason, and it does that. These
Yeah.
OpenAI guys were doing research on something called the meta prompt, which is a prompt that executes other prompts, right? And I think I'm not sure if that's an emergent property or not, but it's fascinating. If you ask the AI to create different people to look at the problem, right? So you're saying,
Yeah.
solve this problem as a consumer psychologist, as a direct response copywriter, as a this or this or this, and have a robust discussion among yourselves before giving me the answer. You'll actually see that it actually gives you that one expert said this, and the
Yes.
other expert said that, and they're actually having a discussion. I just uncovered that earlier this week, and so now I'm actually quite interested to see how can I, sit on the side and just get all of these experts to debate for me
Yes.
and just give me the answer.
Yes.
Because if you were to get a round table with a world class consumer psychologist and a direct response copywriter and a anthropologist and a whatever ologist, it'll cost you too much, and frankly, it'll never happen.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the next best version of it. So,
It's
the-
like
so,
that.
yeah. So there's some. Yeah, I know it's a fascinating space. I'm using it, not just for business, but just curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder if I say this, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can even say things like, I want you to dream like a customer who wants to buy life insurance. How do you feel about something?
Yes.
And it actually will tell you how it feels, and then you can say, well, how does it reconcile to a real human being? And it's in a lot of different ways. It's on point.
Yeah. I definitely feel like the cost to not embrace this as a small business owner is too great. There's no real option to not. Either
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you're going to do it or your
Well,
competitors
depending on
going
the
to.
field, some of yeah, they may be at least in some class of businesses. I don't know what they are. This would be almost death if you did not embrace it.
Yeah.
Uh, because if your competitors do, then they'll be able to drive the cost out. And so, and as we all know, the person who can bid the most gets the customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because all of a sudden they can bid more for customers.
Yes.
They can outgun you um, in more ways than one. Not just outspend you, but intellectually bring firepower of AI to the drawing board or to the table, so to speak. Yeah, it's hard to compete with that advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm hoping we inspired a couple of people just to even set off the train of thought, get people thinking about how it might apply in their business. I know you're, as we said, gone all in on it for LeadsHook. I'll pop a link through to LeadsHook.
thank you,
And I know you've got a Facebook group also where you kind of talk about some of the ideas and what's current for you. So I'll pop a link to that as well.
thank you. Appreciate that.
So yeah, thanks heaps for that, Nick. Always a pleasure. And
No worries. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.